What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for another review of Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 10, Mighty Mighty Boston Bonds. So we start off with Lindsay and Mark. Lindsay is FaceTiming one of her friends, and she's, I guess, giving them an update on what's been going on between her and Mark. So she talks about how Mark is really, I guess, confusing her with his actions because even though he's the one that had initiated intimacy between them, all of a sudden now, he's been pulling back and they haven't been intimate for about 2 weeks now. And she tells her friend that what he told her was that he wants to have a more emotional connection with her before they can proceed with having sex. He wants to build an emotional bond with her. I guess because he just doesn't want to have like a physical relationship where you're just going through the motions of it and there's no meaning behind it and there's no feelings behind it. I can kind of understand that it is sort of making sense, but then I get confused again because Lindsay tells her friend that that very day, that very morning or afternoon, he wanted to be intimate with her. And so she says, and I quote, "We had a quick and dirty," which left her very unsatisfied. So I don't get Mark. I don't understand if like he wants to do it and then he pulls back and they'll be without it for days and then he wants it again, then he pulls back again. It's like you need to pick a lane. Are we going to be intimate or are we not going to be intimate to work on our emotional connection? But we can't be having it both ways. So Dr. Viviana comes to visit them, and Dr. Viviana tells them that I knew that the two of you were going to have fireworks, but I didn't know it was going to be to this extent. And she's referring to how dirty they argue and how they just, butt heads. When they argue really, really, really bad because Lindsay has a mouth on her, and Lindsay likes to hit below the belt, which makes him want to hit below the belt just to fire back. So Dr. Viviana tells them those kind of fights, they're going to have to stop. Y'all cannot fight like that anymore. It cannot get that dirty because I've always believed that people can have a disagreement or an argument and it can still be civil. You don't have to throw words and cuss each other out and call each other names and point out each other's weaknesses just to hurt someone. It never has to go there because when you are at work and you're having a disagreement with a coworker or with someone who's above you, you don't go there. You don't talk like that with your coworker. People will show more respect to coworkers or to people that they don't have intimate relationships with than they would to the people that they live with and do have personal relationships with. It's like it doesn't make any sense. You should show the same amount of respect to your spouse, your family member, as you would to a coworker, as you would to your boss, as you would to someone that you really didn't have a personal relationship with. There's really never an excuse to ever cuss someone out, call someone out of their name. And obviously, there will never be an excuse to get physical with someone or put your hands on someone. So Lindsay talks about how they started off on all cylinders. Everything was rocking and rolling really well. And then Mark all of a sudden pulled back because he said that he didn't feel right. And Dr. Viviana tells Lindsay, because as Lindsay is talking and giving her side of the situation, she says some really mean, hurtful things. Now, Mark may be doing things that might be hurting her. His actions might be hurting her. So she needs to express that and talk about that, but she really does not need to be like say the nasty things that she says. Like to say things like, oh, our love life is dead. It's just dead. And she makes her little snide remarks that she thinks is really, really funny, but it's hurtful to him and it's unnecessary. So Dr. Viviana tells her that she really needs to tone it down with her negative commentary on their intimate life. And then she starts asking them questions like, well, do you want, it was something in the, like, do you want to have, a good intimate life, or do you want to have a successful marriage? Some kind of really generic question she asked them, and they both said yes. And then Dr. Viviana acts like that was just like an epiphany, that they both want some type of positive outcome out of this. Well, duh, yeah, they do both want to be happy, and they do want to have a good marriage. They do want everything to work out. That's sort of obvious. Just because they said yes, it doesn't necessarily mean that, that this is like, undiscovered territory. This is like something really new and shocking. So, and then it was like Dr. Viviana was done with them. And I was like, no, Dr. V, you need to dig deeper with these people. These people have some serious issues. You need to dig deeper with them. But I thought that the session with Dr. Viviana was really short, unless they edited out a lot of stuff. But it seemed really short. It seemed incomplete. I felt like they could have gone a lot deeper to figure out why Mark is the way he is, why Lindsay is the way she is. But maybe they're going to have more visits. And so Dr. Viviana is like, hey, we're just scratching the surface today, but I'll definitely be back. Who the hell knows? But I didn't feel like they really got to the root of the problem. She basically just kind of reprimanded Lindsay, asked them, hey, do y'all want this to work out? They both said yes, and then that was the end of it. So then they have a Nerf gunfight, Lindsay and Mark, and that was fun. And then the gift basket arrives. Dr. Viviana sent all the couples a basket with some stuff to kind of help out their intimacy and whatnot. So they take out all the stuff that was in the basket. They have fun with that. I'm not even going to go into details with that, because it's like, it was just for giggles. And so we'll move on from that. And so there's a group activity, and they all go out. The boys go ice hockey, and the girls do aerial yoga. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things on these two activities. So Steve tells the guys, after they're done playing ice hockey, he tells the guys that he dropped the L word. He told Noi that he loved her, and so everybody was really happy for him. And then back to the girls. Jasmina says she misses the chasing part of dating. So Jasmina and Lindsay both said that they do miss that part of dating. I guess when a man is pursuing you, when a man is trying to impress you, when a man is trying to woo you, I guess they said that they really miss that part of dating. And obviously, it's the two women that are struggling in their marriages who say that they miss anything about dating, because Noi and Katina miss nothing about dating. Katina said that she misses nothing about it. Noi obviously doesn't miss anything about it. So even though Katina seems like she's kind of going through some issues with Olajuwon, she says that she doesn't miss anything about dating. And I guess she's happy with Olajuwon and her marriage so far. Now, Lindsay says that the intimacy is back on with Mark, and that, things are a lot better. So I guess the visit with Dr. Viviana helped, or maybe the gift basket with all the toys and stuff really helped. But yeah, Lindsay was like, yeah, I'm satisfied with Mark and things are all good. Olajuwon tells the guys that the last time that they were together, he was not happy. He was having a lot of issues in his marriage, but he says now, things are looking up. He says that he would give his marriage an 8 out of 10, and things are definitely improving between him and Katina. And we'll get to Olajuwon and Katina later. Michael says that it is difficult. Marriage is very, very difficult, but he would rate his marriage a 7. Jasmina, she says that she would rate her marriage an 8 because of their great conversations. And of course, we'll get to Jasmina later. So moving on from there, Katina and Olajuwon. So Olajuwon is telling Katina that she wasn't stepping up as a wife, that she wasn't checking all the boxes of what he needed her to check, and that it made her feel bad, and she feels like she was disappointing him. So Dr. Viviana arrives, and Dr. Viviana is asking them, why are there issues with y'all that are centered around food and cooking? And Olajuwon also brings up that Katina is not wanting to do, he tries to say that it's beyond cooking and cleaning. He tries to say that my issues with her are not just the cooking and the cleaning. It's beyond that. And he talks about how he feels like Katina is not vulnerable, and she doesn't open up enough for him. He says he'll be talking to her, he'll be sharing with her, and she's just like a blank wall. She doesn't really contribute. She doesn't really add anything. And so he needs her to be more open and he needs her to be more vulnerable. So I don't know why he's so focused on the cooking and the cleaning if there are bigger issues, because Dr. Viviana was like, if your issues are just about the cooking and the cleaning, then you're never going to be happy with anybody, because those things are very superficial. And he was trying to say, look, it's not just that, it's also this other issue that I'm having with her. But Olajuwon, you've never talked about that. All you've ever talked about is how she doesn't cook enough. But you felt betrayed when she didn't want to help you clean after the housewarming party. So this is the first that I've ever heard of him having an issue with her not opening up enough and not being vulnerable enough. But then again, how can she, when it seems like he acts like he's not happy with her, like he's disappointed in her? She doesn't want to open up and be vulnerable to someone who's just going to turn around and probably say, hey, I don't want to be with you. So I can understand why she might be a little bit more reserved. But in the meeting with Dr. Viviana, she says that she is going to open up more and she will try to be more vulnerable with him. So Katina plans a movie night, and Olajuwon really, really liked that because it showed that she was paying attention to what he wanted and she made it happen for him. He says he's not a really outgoing kind of guy. He doesn't really like, running the streets and all that. So he prefers, to him, a good evening is an evening at home. So she brought the snacks and, all of his favorite stuff. And it seems like he really, really did appreciate that. And it looked like things were definitely were looking up for them. And it got even better when the care package came from Dr. Viviana with all the toys. And so they had a lot of fun with that. So I'm beginning to kind of have hope now with Olajuwon and Katina. And before, when I had said that, well, maybe he's just not attracted to black girls. Well, maybe I need to be taking that back, because this particular episode, he seemed to be all over Katina. He loved him some Katina. So maybe that beautiful chocolate dark skin is something that he needed. Moving on to Jasmina and Michael. So they're doing a couples exercise where they have to ask each other questions. And the question that stuck out to me was when the question was, what can make the marriage better? And Jasmina said, well, you could talk to me throughout the day. We could just have regular everyday conversations. They don't have to be really deep and meaningful and soul searching conversations. We can just talk about the mundane things in life. And that made me really sad, because I was like, wow, they don't really talk throughout the day. That is really sad, because I'm like, what's happening here? Why don't they talk throughout the day? What's going on here? But that's what she wanted. Something as simple as conversation. I'm like, Michael, you can't even do that. So Dr. Viviana comes to visit them, and they tell her that they have no physical intimacy at all. Jasmina says that we're just coexisting. And Dr. Viviana was like, oh no, that's really not good. Michael said that he's letting her take the lead when it comes to sex. He doesn't want to push her. That is her arena. She will let him know when she's ready and when she's comfortable. And Jasmina says that if they don't have an emotional connection, then she will never feel like she wants to be intimate with him. And the emotional connection comes from them communicating more. And Michael says that if they're not more intimate, and he wasn't referring to sex, he was like, if we're just not getting closer in some way, well, he says if we were more intimate, if we were getting closer in some way, then the emotional connection will follow. And then Jasmina feels like, well, if we were communicating more, then I can connect with him on a more intimate level. Not the sex part, just that feeling of closeness and vulnerability and, like really getting to see and know each other. So after that, they have a conversation on the couch. They went completely left. Mike had mentioned how they had talked over each other when Dr. Viviana was visiting them, which they did. And she did that a lot. She would overtalk him a lot. And I did notice that. And he would get frustrated. And you can tell that he wanted it to be known that he didn't like it, but he was worried that if he expressed that, she's going to take it as him being aggressive. So he was really struggling with what to do whenever she would overtalk him. So when Dr. Viviana left and they were talking just amongst the two of them, he mentioned how they overtalked each other with Dr. V. And Jasmina basically snapped back at him and said, well, that only happened twice. And please don't use that as something to, to make that into something, because it only happened 2 times. And I don't think he was using that like to start something or to, open a door of criticism. I think that he was just mentioning it in passing. Like, Dr. Viviana was trying to teach them some communication skills, because they really are struggling with communication. And he was like, when she was talking to us, we were like over talking each other. I don't think he was trying to make anything of it. I think he was just mentioning it in passing to make his point about how we need to figure out a different way to communicate. But she snapped at him, and she was like, it only happened twice, so I don't even know why you're mentioning it. So Michael thinks that journaling might be a good idea, because Dr. V had mentioned, why don't you journal? Write out all your thoughts and then express your thoughts to your partner. And Jasmina was like, well, I don't need to journal. And he was like, well, I think it would be good for both of us. And she's like, I told you, I don't need to journal. I know how to communicate without having to write down my thoughts first. If that's what you want to do, that's fine, but I don't need to do it. And I think Michael should have left it alone as soon as she had expressed that she did not want to journal. She's an adult. It is her prerogative. Dr. Viviana was only giving suggestions, not commands. So if she didn't want to journal, that was fine. But for whatever reason, Michael kept on pushing it. Like, it's not a me thing, it's an us thing, and we both need to try this. It's a way for both of us to learn how to communicate differently. And she didn't like that, because she had already told him, I don't need to do that. So she gets upset, and she needs to take a moment. So she completely walks out of the apartment, and she's taking a breather. And I was like, wow, their communication is horrible. So thankfully, it gets better. The next time we see them, they are going to Tantra Yoga, and Jasmina says that she has not, while they're doing the Tantra Yoga, they're asking each other questions and they're revealing things about themselves. Jasmina admits that she has not been fully vulnerable because she feels like that he wasn't that invested in the marriage. And then Michael says that he wishes he could trust her more, and he wants her to be less defensive and try to see things from his point of view more. Jasmina admits that she does need to create a safe place for him to trust her. And that was, to me, revolutionary that Jasmina would admit that, because Jasmina seems like someone who doesn't like to admit that she's wrong. She doesn't like to be corrected, and she doesn't want anyone to point out if she's lacking anywhere. So for her to say, this is what I need to do to improve myself, to make it better for you, I was like, wow, that's revolutionary. So Michael says he does not regret getting married at first sight. And I guess I should make her feel like, he is invested in this. He doesn't regret doing this. But at the end of their Tantra Yoga thing, of course, they had like a silly moment where she filled his mouth with whipped cream without him knowing. I was like, okay, this seems like it's improving. I'm really rooting for Michael and Jasmina, and it seems like things are getting a little bit better. So then they're getting ready for bed, and he's combing his beard, and she says, oh, let me try. So he gives her the comb, and then she starts combing his beard. It might have been silly or whatever. It might have been like a little cutesy moment, but really, that is how you develop intimacy. That's how you develop closeness. So he let her comb his beard, and that was really nice. And then Jasmina says, in her confessional, that she hasn't really felt a spark since her wedding day. But she says that looking at each other, when they were doing the yoga, like staring deeply into each other's eyes, so on and so forth, she says it kind of brought up similar feelings. It kind of, I guess, made her feel all tingly inside. And it seems like, things I'll be looking up for them. So they both agree that more communication will definitely bring them closer together. So that ended on a positive note. Thank God. Moving on to Steve and Noy. So Steve and Noy, Dr. Viviana comes to visit them. Their physical relationship is, bomb.com. They got it going on in that department. They really don't need any help there. But they do talk about how Noy shuts down. And Steve said he doesn't like it when she shuts down. It's kind of scary for him, and he needs her to communicate and not shut down. Noy started crying because she was thinking back when she left the apartment, when she got mad, over the whole Noodlegate thing. She said she didn't realize how much she hurt him by shutting down and by leaving the way she did. And so it really broke her heart to see how that affected him. So hopefully she'll learn not to do that again. Then they talk about, Noy says that she needs a concrete plan from Steve as far as what he is going to do about making money. And he kind of got offended. Whenever the talk is, Steve's got like this, he's got a quick tongue. Like when he has a way of, he seems like really nice, really calm, right? Really chill. But when he's triggered with something, he has a quick tongue and he comes back, claws drawn, and he's ready to attack and pounce. So when she said, I need a more concrete plan as far as what he's going to do about making money, he was like, so you don't think I can make any money? You don't think I have the ability to make money? And she was like, well, I haven't really seen that. And then Dr. Viviana points out, well, would it be that bad if he was a stay-at-home husband or a stay-at-home dad? Would that be such a horrible idea? And then Noy says, well, I thought we would contribute like equally, financially and with, taking care of the house. We could do 50-50. We can both contribute financially and take care of the house together, not just me financially and him dealing with the house. And he was like, okay, well, you talk about doing 50-50 and you contributing more to the house, but I haven't seen you do anything around the house. And then he says, if I went to work, who's going to do all the cooking and the cleaning? The meals wouldn't be as good, the house wouldn't be as clean. And then he tells her, if I have to go back into the workforce, there's no turning back. If that's what you really want me to do, there's no turning back. And I'm like, what? I think she can tolerate a house that's slightly messy if he was contributing more financially. I don't think she would have a problem with a couple of dishes in the sink or them having to eat takeout all the time because there's nobody home to cook all the time. I don't think it would bother her that much. So that topic of money and him making money and him, going back to a 9-to-5, it really irks the hell out of him. And I don't know how they're going to navigate around that. So Noy's like, I've never envisioned being with someone who didn't go to work every day. That's not part of my plan. That's not what I want. That's just not for me. So I'm really curious to see on how they're going to work that out. That is my review of Married at First Sight. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Go ahead and rate the video, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes your boat float. Leave a comment, and please don't forget to subscribe. And I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.